Hi guys, Icecracks here. So this is my Mustang Drift build. This is my personal Mustang Drift build, which I did mention about last week in one of my other videos, and well, you can watch the nice little sort of cutscene thing, but yeah. It is by far probably the most beginner vehicle that I've ever built. I don't know if, when you guys test it, if you consider beginner, but I believe personally that it's a beginner vehicle. I also have the rainbow looking black paint, the rainbow fleck black paint, and the green rims. Sort of a honorary departure of Von Gun Jr.'s Mustang, as he basically lost control of it at Texas Motor Speedway and wrecked the car and totaled it. Good thing he was alright, but the car was totaled as he lost, I don't know, you can probably Google it, Formula Drift accident. But his car basically was totaled, and he's basically out of the this season. He's out for the rest of the season because his prototype 2015 Mustang, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of OEM parts, and well, he can't really compete in Formula Drift because of the regulations and the rules that doesn't allow him to, well, drive the car, because a lot of the parts in Formula Drift require you to have OEM parts or factory parts, basically. Basically, most of the chassis has to be factory new. And whenever you have a drift car, it's always going to, or any car, and it's made of OEM parts, that's always going to be the first thing to break, because it's not custom fabricated. So, yeah. But we should probably get started on the build. So, it's actually a very, very cheap build, funny enough, as well. Cheap and easy build, because, well, there's not really much conversion. Let's just start with conversions, because there isn't any. There's no conversions, because we're going to stick with the stock Supercharger, because Supercharger for the win. Drivetrain, no. Definitely no. Definitely no. That's a no-no. That's a definitely no-no. And, well, we have a stock engine, because I tried the V8, Roush V8 racing engine, and that didn't really work out. The only reason why I know it's a Roush V8 is because the Roush V8 racing engine has the exact same displacement and the same power rating. So, yeah, we're not going to use that. No aerodynamics. We could change the hood, but look at all these hoods. They're pretty fairly ugly. Unless you're really gonna go flamboyant on it, I wouldn't suggest using any of the GT500s. I don't know if you'll be able to get access to the GT500 for you guys that didn't pre-order, or doesn't have veteran status. I don't know if you'll have access to the GT500, but since I have veteran status from Forza 4, I have GT500. So you can, funny enough, apply a lot of these with a few more engine upgrades. I'll bring up the list of what else engine upgrades you'll need to counter for the lack of displacement on the 2015 Mustang or 16 Mustang, because I experimented with both, and I do have the parts list for what you need for the 2015. Why did I back out even? The 2015 Mustang. I'll cover that when I'm upgrading the cars. Jeez, what am I saying? So for the tires, I basically went max tire width as always. Max tire width is always key. Max tire width. For rims, I just kept stock because, well, the Mustang RTR rims basically look identical to this. You can play with the rims, you can make it any color, make it any design you want. It's up to you guys what you want, because I'm all about the ideal. I don't know. So we put the racing clutch in, put the racing gearbox in. That's really key, because we do need to mess around. This time we do actually need to mess around with gear ratios, because I don't really like the stock Mustang gearing. And for any drift car, you definitely need a racing differential, because racing differential, you need it. Because how are you supposed to lock up the tires? That's the question. Brakes, standard. You need maximum efficiency for the brakes. We do need to play around with the springs a little bit as well. Good thing we already have sports, and we'll be putting the racing springs. Anti-roll bar, we'll be playing with that, because we do need some bit more flick to it. Forza load, thank you. Roll cage just for rigidity of the chassis. I don't know why I even put this in, because it's not really necessary. And it's all about that weight reduction, bro. As I don't know, it's just weight reduction, bro. As Car Throttle says it. So this is where the 2013 version and the 2015 version sort of divide on the car parts. So the 2013 Mustang in my build, only requires the air filter and the exhaust and the flywheel, because well, it's got a sufficient amount of power. If you look at it, if you look at the power, there's already a sufficient amount of power to get the car drifting, because it has a very, very high amount of torque and has a decent amount of power. The power and the torque are pretty close to each other at the higher end. So this is where it differs to the 2015 Mustang. The 2015 Mustang has an air filter system, which I do have on this version, a sports fuel system, which I don't need on this version, but I do have a sports fuel system on the 2015 Mustang, an exhaust, which is standard, and the supercharger. We need to also do a supercharger conversion, funny enough, because the 2015 Mustang is actually naturally aspirated, funny enough. So you need a supercharger for that, and we're going to leave the supercharger stock. And the flywheel, we're going to put the flywheel on. Because flywheel is always standard for any car. You need fast response to the power, so yeah. So I'll tune the car right now, and I'll do the whole tune build. So, before it's load, always drop the tire pressure because you need that rubbery tire. You need the rubbery tire to flick around to get some more traction quickly. I put the pressure on, and you basically need the tires to be soft and grippy. This is where I don't like the Mustang's gearing. If you look at the final drive, it's all the way down the bottom. This is a no-no for when it comes to drifting because you get to your top speed very, very quickly. Only issues, you don't need top speed, you need acceleration, you need power down to the wheels. You can get power down the wheels, but this is where it sort of changes. Because the default gear ratio is too long, as for my personal, at least for this drift build, I don't like. This is based on my personal experience, I do not like long gear ratios. And so the first gear for the final drive is 383.85. This first gear is 2.56. The third gear is 1.72. Second gear, sorry, is 1.72. Third gear is 1.26. If I can get it right. Fourth gear is 1.08. Fifth gear is 0.98. I do have to turn that up a little bit. And the final sixth gear is 8.3. Camber and basically alignment, 2 degrees, negative 2 degrees for the suspension. I usually have it around there for most standard cars, but I guess minus 2 degrees / 1.5 is usually the nice camber angle. When you put too much camber angle, it goes too much tire wear, and it's not exactly nice, because it can affect the performance in drifting. So, toe, we're going to put a little bit of toe on the tires, 0.3 to 0.5, and caster is usually about 5.7. A lot of my cars have a caster of 5.7. I'm not exactly too sure. It basically pushes the steering axis rearward and basically allows you to run less negative camber, so therefore I don't have a crazy amount of camber. So for the springs, we always soften them up. We soften them up a lot because we can get some weight transfer and get the whole weight transfer going, because, well, if you have a very stiff suspension and you have low power, it's very hard to get the weight transfer easily. So get to 11.52 and 11.91 because you need that weight transfer to be able to transition between drift. So, yeah, and for dampening, for springs, sorry, you need 11.7. That was anti-roll bar. I can roll over more so I can transition. For springs, what am I even saying? You drop the softness so you can do the weight transfer as a part of the anti-roll bar thing as well. To 111.7 and 111.9. That's usually how I do it. If I can get it right. Ride height doesn't really need to change that much because, well, I don't know. Personal, doesn't really have any specific build, and well, this is not really dedicated to anyone, so I just leave the ride height stock, I guess. And when you have the ride height too low, you usually go over the rumble strips, and that screws you over a lot, which I have noticed with, just in general, you run over the rumble strips, and it screws you over. So rebound stiffness and stuff, and bump stiffness, always to 4.1, because that's just a sort of a nice golden number. I don't know, it varies from person to person, but braking, I usually have it set to 55 and 110, so I can get those front wheels to lock up, so I can get the tail to swing around, if you get what I mean. So I lock the front tires, and the whole tail will whip out, and basically allow me to get drifting. For the differential settings, I have 81 and 61, because it allows, well, I need power, I need those lock-up. You need that lock-up of the tires, so you can get the lock-up, and get the drift going, so it's quite nice when you have a nice differential. That's why the race differential is key to drifting in Forza, at least. Well, in real life, you can always get a race differential, do limited slip differential, or you can well do open differential, which is always another thing, but that can screw over you if you ever get stuck on, actually, just whenever you get certain conditions, I guess. It may screw up your turning, because your open differential, it tends to help a little bit when you're going around turns and stuff, because you get them to spin at different speeds, but yeah, but besides that, from welding your differential, but that's basically the setup for the car, and we're going to take it for a little test drive. this time we're not doing around Bernese Alps, we're doing it around the nice and tidy, well not really nice and tidy, we're doing it around Indianapolis, because Indianapolis is a classic American track and we're using a classic American muscle. So why not? We'll go around the Indianapolis Classic circuit because we're going to cut around the Big Bank area, because I do like the Big Bank. Actually, what is the difference between the alternate and the classic? And the alternate and the Grand Prix circuit? Actually, I see the difference. But we're going to use the classic version because that's the one I find quite nice for drifting, especially with not so much the Big Bank, unless, well, I usually ride the Big Bank around 4th gear, but it's just quite a nice circuit because you got that big keyhole area where you can sort of down the bottom of the track and you can sort of go around there like a badass. And, well, in case of drifting, you pick up a lot of points. A lot of points around that keyhole area. So I'm going to move it a bit, head off the tyres. I do believe I have simulation damage on because I was recording previously over the simulation doing some races, so I do have some simulation damage. So if I do crash, I do have to pit and fix the car, but hopefully I don't do that. Get that heavy handbrake usage. Going in. Usually for this car, you usually stick around 3rd gear. Personally, I stick around 3rd gear. It may vary from person to person. But yeah, this is the keyhole area, which I do favour a lot when it comes to using the Mustang. Because you can do that. Just sort of slide it out and get big points and big smoke. And have big fun. So there was that 12 round points. And going pretty slow now though, because I don't want the car to kick out too much and lose traction in the rear or front of it. That's one key thing. And that is the biggest amount of points I ever got. 18,000 is probably the biggest amount of points I ever got in one drift. Chaining all those drifts together. I'm going to drop it in here. They did change the they did add that little rumble strip. I don't know why they added that new rumble strip. But I guess that's what happened with the real Indianapolis. They put that rumble strip for the Grand Prix circuit. I guess they modified the Grand Prix circuit from the classic version to the real, whatever's listed now. So yeah, going 4th gear, and kick around. And does another upload. Did rip on the handbrake a bit too much, unfortunately. So it did lock me up, it did log down for a second. Usually I can kick it out, but weirdly enough I can't kick it. Yeah, there we go, we got it kicked out. Nice and tidy, hopefully. Not too bad, not too shabby, not too shabby. Yeah, there you go. There's a bit of a nice drift around Indianapolis because we're using a classic muscle car. 32,000 points, not too bad. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that the drift build will be available on my personal profile. So if you go searching for ice cracks in Forza or online, I don't know if you can use it online, but you definitely search for my profile and you'll find my profile right there. And you'll find this drift build and many other drift builds that I haven't covered yet, but I will cover in the future. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Ice Cracks out.